Right now. So two tense and dramatic standoffs between police and protesters, all happening just a mile apart from each other last night.
Yeah, so you just heard from our two reporters on both those situations. Joining us this morning to talk about this is the NYPD's Chief of Counterterrorism and Intelligence, Rebecca Weiner, to go over the police response to these protests. It was a long and busy night for you. Thank you for coming in this morning to talk about this. Let's begin, Deputy Commissioner, with the number of arrests, right, from both situations that unfolded. And did you know that there were going to be two simultaneous situations, Columbia and City College, playing out at the same time, really?
We strongly suspected that that would be the case, and we announced earlier in the late afternoon that we thought this would spread. Not just the protests, which have of course spread across the country, but taking over buildings, the property damage, the vandalism, and that City College would be the obvious next place. They had had a flare that was lit off a couple days before, and all of the conditions for the chaotic environment that we saw last night were well in place.
Yeah.
This morning, what are the numbers?
So we're at about 300 so far, just under, between the two, and a combination of burglary, disorderly conduct, trespass in the suite of charges.
So let's talk about specifics and the NYPD's response. I think it's important to note Columbia University did invite the NYPD, or did ask the NYPD to come and help. But last night, it was quite a sight. You saw the big Bearcat vehicle, the ramp going into the building, dozens of officers in riot gear going in. At what point did the NYPD decide this is the action that they needed to take?
Well, first of all, we don't unilaterally decide to take this kind of action. This is the product of ongoing conversations between us and Columbia. And City College also did give us a letter inviting us, requesting our assistance. So this is very much a decision that is made in concert. Our evaluation of the public safety concern, and then of course the university's own independent analysis. And I think one of the things that was interesting last night and over the course of yesterday was that we came to the same conclusions around the external actors who we see present on campus, involved in some of the training and leading these groups. And then a real change in the tactics that we observed, tactics that move much closer toward widespread criminal activity that puts students at risk, it puts protesters themselves at risk, that necessitates the action that you saw last night.
Yeah, it's a tough image to look at when you see riot gear going onto a college campus. But we often hear from the mayor and the police commissioner and you last night talking about the external actors. You mentioned it again. How do you determine who the external agitators are that you say are on campus? And can you say who they are, and just to set the record straight, because it seems that the term is used a lot and then people are saying, well, why can't they say who they are?
So I think there's a couple of things going on. First of all, the optics. Really important to note that all of this gear that you see is protective for the officers. When you see the barricading and the windows breaking and the chains being used to prevent access, so this is for officer safety, and it looks very stunning. And I think that what we saw last night were tactics that were well trained, extremely organized, very calm, for the most part, certainly at Columbia, and you see a little bit more chaos at City College. Our folks are incredibly well trained, and this operation ran about as smoothly as one could hope in less than 2 hours. The encampment and Hamilton Hall had been cleared. So this is about restoring order and calm to a campus that really needs to go back to its day job, which is teaching students learning, writing papers, taking tests. So having external folks who are completely unaffiliated with the university involved in what we assess to be changing some of the tactics of the students, the de-arresting, the black bloc scaling into buildings, breaking doors and windows, the barricading, and Columbia itself reiterated this in the letter. A large presence of people unaffiliated with the university at a time when university is supposed to be close to students. This has taken a different kind of shape. It's not about expression of students.
One of those individuals, there were reports that it was a known terrorist wife who was on campus. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so last week we saw, and this is all posted openly on Twitter, the wife of somebody named Samuel Arian, who was a convicted terrorist, part of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, present on campus. There were a number of people who flocked to campus. It was really a magnet for people who were looking to take advantage, honestly, of what was happening. And then separately, we see individuals who are known to us, separate and apart from that particular example, over years who've been involved in professional protesting across a wide range of causes. But the thing that makes them familiar are the tactics, which are dangerous, they're disruptive, and they're sometimes criminal.
Yeah. We're now seeing relative calm on Columbia's campus, but now we're seeing them all gathering as they're being released from police custody down by one police plaza. How do you control that situation and in the case that they don't return to Columbia and then inside another sort of situation where the NYPD has to respond like they did yesterday?
Well, you know, NYPD does this every day. We often see after an arrest that is sizable like this, especially outside of our arrest processing center, solidarity around jail. So this is something that is pretty consistent with what we've observed over the last 7 months, and then, of course, long before that. The NYPD has been invited to be part of the presence at Columbia until May 17th. They announced that in their letter. The idea is that, you know, to the degree that we can keep things calm and help the university keep things calm so that students can go back to the learning and the finals and the commencement that they need to be doing, we will help in any way that we can.
I just have that one question, I know we're out of time, about what happened when you went into the building. That one building where we saw the Bearcat kind of pull up, they went in, obviously the doors were chained, that's why you went through a different point of entry. What were the officers met with inside that building? Was it relatively calm? Because obviously there were no cameras inside there.
They were met with a lot of resistance to entry, which is what we had expected, seeing the cameras destroyed, barricades being erected, barricades being dragged into the building, some of the images that we showed yesterday. And what you see is a very orderly and disciplined and organized approach to making sure that nobody is in danger inside the building. So some resistance in terms of getting in, and then ultimately it was a very calm and orderly process to get everybody out safely.
So no resisting arrest after that?
Some were resisting outside, and yeah, so you're going to hear a little bit more details about exactly what unfolded. I think the bottom line, though, was given the number of people involved, how calm, how organized, how orderly it was, and thankfully nobody was injured.
Yeah, no serious injuries.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming in.